The Cincinnati Reds just completed a fairly disappointing season after coming into the season with one of the more exciting groups of young talent in the majors. While Ellie De La Cruz was able to cement himself as one of the best shortstops in baseball, other big name prospects like Noelvi Marte and Christian Encarnacion Strand really struggled, which leads us to modern day with some really tough offseason decisions to make. And today we're going to be going through all those decisions. This makes the 11th team I've GM'd for so far in this series, which is all a part of my Rebuilding October series, where I rebuild a new team every day across the month of October. So whether you're looking for your favorite team or just curious as to how every team should approach the offseason, I've got you covered. And with that being said, let's dive into the Reds. Before we can look at positions of need, we have to look at who will be leaving the team in free agency, starting with the high quality starter or reliever. Nick Martinez is faced with the player option of $12 million, and in this scenario, we will have him leaving. If you've been keeping up with the series, you would know that this is to the Texas Rangers. Martinez has very quietly posted a 3.1 ERA for the Reds this season across 42 appearances with 16 starts mixed in there. He does so by keeping the walks to a minimum, striking out a decent amount of batters, and miraculously eliminating home runs, even in the hitter friendly confines of Great American Ballpark. Martinez's loss is a big one for the Reds to fill. Having a guy who can seamlessly switch between the pen and the rotation and perform in either is extremely valuable and will be a tough guy for the Reds to replace. Amilio Pagan is another reliever faced with a player option for the Reds, and in this scenario, he'll be accepting the $8 million option and remain with the Reds through 2025. Pagan was not nearly as effective as Martinez in 2024, posting a 4.5 ERA across 38 innings pitched. However, for Pagan, it was more in line as to where he has been as a reliever since 2020. The key factor that boosted his stock coming into the 2024 season was his unsustainable home run rate in 2023, and in 2024, the numbers self corrected. However, if there was a silver lining for Pagan in 2024, was that his strikeout to walk rate was the best we had seen from the righty since his days in Tampa back in 2019, where he posted a 2.31 ERA. It'll be interesting to see where Pagan lands as a reliever in 2025, but either way, it'll be back with the Reds. Another pitcher faced with an option is Jake Junis, this time being a mutual option. Junis very quietly enjoyed the best season of his career in 2024, splitting time between the Reds and Brewers, posting a 2.69 ERA across 24 games, even mixing in 6 starts in there. While the underlying numbers don't love Junis, what he does do well is limit walks and home runs. However, with that in mind, his BABIP was incredibly low for Junis's career norms, and I would dare to say it is unsustainable. However, even in the season prior with the Giants, Junis was able to put up respectable numbers while posting higher hit totals, and with that in mind, it makes sense for both parties to mutually agree to continue forward together. Joining the ranks of players facing an option, this time coming from the team itself, it is Luke Maley. Maley simply wasn't very good in 2024, posting a 520 OPS in 154 plate appearances. However, considering the dry catcher market, $3.5 million for a backup catcher is pretty reasonable for a player who has had stints at being an okay catcher both offensively and defensively. And then the final player facing an option is Brent Suter from the bullpen, who has a team option in place for $3.5 million for 2025. Suter is another one of these guys who's very quietly been good over the past few seasons and posted his best season since 2021. Truthfully, the reason behind him not being retained by the Reds is a little bit of an oopsies on my part. When I signed him by the Pirates in their respective rebuild, I was under the impression he was an unrestricted free agent, and to keep consistency within the series, I have to have him leave in free agency. Other than that, there really isn't a real reason for the Reds not to accept the team option, especially considering the price. So for that, I do apologize. Another free agent reliever set to hit the market is Buck Farmer, who again very quietly had a great season for the Reds, posting a 3.04 ERA across 61 games. His numbers are a little deceptive considering his FIP sat at 4, but that shouldn't take away from the season he was able to put together. However, considering his success, Farmer should test the free agent market, and once again, if you've been following the series, he finds a new home in Toronto. Another unfortunate loss for this bullpen. And then to round out the free agents set to hit the market, we have Ahmed Rosario, Justin Wilson, and Casey Kelly all leaving the team without an offer. There just really isn't a place for these guys on the 2025 Reds, and they'll be better served moving forward without them. Staying on the internal side of things, the Reds only have two top prospects that have the chance of making a significant impact on the Major League roster, starting with the Reds' second highest rated and 33rd overall prospect in baseball. Brett Lauder is set to make the opening day roster for the Reds after posting an incredible 6 starts at the end of the season. Over his 30.2 innings, he posted a 1.17 ERA whilst not allowing a home run. While every Reds fan in the world would love to see those numbers continue, it's a bit unrealistic. However, what Lauder is a pitcher with 3 plus pitches in his fastball, slider, and changeup, and some of the best command of any prospect in baseball. Lauder will assuredly make the opening day roster and lose that prospect status very quickly, but it's well deserved, and it's going to be exciting to watch him pitch every 5 days for the Reds. Another name that the Reds could see at some point throughout the season is the Reds' eighth best prospect, Chase Petty, who finished the season at AAA. Petty is a former first round pick the Reds acquired through the Sonny Gray trade with the Twins prior to the 2022 season. Petty's ascent has been slightly slowed by injury, however, his fastball slider combo are really good, both grading at a 60, and he also features a changeup and two seamer with some good run. It would take some injuries or moves to get Petty a shot at the major. Free agent additions, it was tough to find a spot that didn't step on toes of the developing players on this team. One spot that had the ability to upgrade was at center field, where Stuart Fairchild is an everyday starter. Fairchild is a fine option, but is limited offensively, and an upgrade would seem to be in order. Here's where the Reds will sign Cody Bellinger, who in this scenario will opt out of his deal with the Cubs. Bellinger offers significant offensive upside when compared to Stuart Fairchild, posting an 815 OPS over his 2 seasons with the Cubs with an average of 22 homers and 88 RBIs. While his underlying numbers don't love that kind of production, a move to Great American Ballpark will continue to aid that offense. Defensively, he might not be the greatest, but that's why you keep a guy like Fairchild on the roster as a fourth outfielder and allow Bellinger to move to first if needed. For the offense, that's all the moves I could realistically make without stepping on any prospect's development. However, for the rotation, it would make a lot of sense for them to grab one of these solid options from free agency, this time in the form of Sean Manaea. Manaea has been very solid during his 2024 campaign, posting a 3.47 ERA over the course of 181 innings, while striking out over 9 batters per 9 innings and keeping the home runs relatively low. It was his best full season to date in his career and would give the Reds some much needed stability in the middle of the rotation. To help with so many departures into the free agent market, partially due to my own stupidity, we had the Reds signing Drew Smyly from the Chicago Cubs. In Smiley's age 35 season, he was able to post a 3.84 ERA while striking out over 8.5 batters per 9 innings. While the Southpaw isn't the sexiest pick, he is solid and would help stabilize this bullpen that is losing a lot of pieces. And the same goes for Phil Maton from the Mets, who has again very quietly posted a 3.5 ERA over the past 3 seasons with the Astros, Rays, and Mets, while striking out over 9.5 batters per 9 innings. Maton continues to be a solid reliever as he ages into his 30s, and that shouldn't stop here with the Reds. And that's going to do it for the additions to this team, because truly the best path forward for this Reds team is to let these former top prospects find their own footing in the majors and let the best players rise to the top. That will leave the final roster as Tyler Stevenson at the catcher spot, Jeimer Candelario at first with Matt McLean at second, Elly De La Cruz will remain the starting shortstop with Noelvi Marte at third, but you hope can find some of that potential. Spencer Steer will remain in left with Bellinger in center, and Friedel in right with Christian Encarnacion Strand will fill the DH role. Luke Maley will remain the backup catcher with Jake Fraley and Stuart Fairchild on the bench as additional outfielders, with Jonathan India holding the last spot for positional players. Hunter Green would headline the starting rotation with Rhett Lauder and Sean Manaea filling out the middle of the rotation, with Nick Lodolo and Jake Junis occupying roles for now, with room with Braxton Ashcraft, Andrew Abbott, and Petty to find some time throughout the year. This leaves the Reds with the potential to go on a run and make the postseason with one of the most exciting young cores in baseball. A lot of this team's year will rely on the development of former top prospects like Marte and Encarnacion Strand. We have already seen the breakout from Elly De La Cruz, but for the Reds to take the next step, it will require the rest of the young players to do the same, and if they do, the playoffs might very well be in the Reds' immediate future.